Hi, I'm the Moorlander and this is Moorlander EDC. I've always wanted to do a follow-up to a piece of content that I made a few years back, and that was on one of my favourite style of hats. I have two favourite styles of hats, beanies and boonies. We've looked at some beanies this summer, and now we're going to continue to look at some more nice boonies, or bucket hats. Let's not forget the traditional summer hat, especially here in the UK. We are a nation of hat wearers. Has been for a long time a bucket hat, which has been used by fishermen out in the sea, eventually kind of changing and adopting ever so slightly and being used by the military. There's so many reasons why the bucket hat is such a great hat. The US adopted the Boonie hat from the area that it was made and it was used, and the two have kind of come very close and similar. For the Boonie hats, there are a couple of different types, whether it's a short brim, whether it's a long brim. Personally, I prefer short brim Boonie hats because they're probably closer to a traditional, closer to a traditional bucket hat. But what I have here is, to continue the collection of 5 hats that we looked at before, we have another 5, well I guess it's 6 really, because I'm wearing one as well. So I think what we will do is, we will start with this one. So this is the one that you've probably seen me wearing quite a bit this summer in several pieces of content. And this is from Veristeleca. So this is the Veristeleca Sama TST Boonie hat, and it is very, very nice. As far as the materials are concerned with this is a really nice blend. It is a poly cotton with some elastin in here as well. And it is also a ripstop material, just to make sure that if you're using this outdoors, you want it to be as rugged as possible. Now it is, I guess, standard in the fact is what you'll find with a lot of Boonie hats is, one, there will generally be some sort of adjustments that you can make to it and a chin strap, but also on the outside here, you will have some additional webbing so that you can use that for natural foliage. A lot of these were used originally by snipers and people that are out and about, eventually kind of adopted it or changed a little bit more into the civilian style, where you'll see some of those bucket hats and you'll have fishermen with different lures and stuff on here. But yes, it has a fairly traditional Boonie look and feel to this. It also is a flat top. Some of them you will find that just go all the way over, similar to a bucket or a bucket hat, whereas this one does have a flat top on here. Did I mention polycotton? Polycotton ripstop on this. On the inside, so rather than having lining all the way up into the top, so on here, the top section, there is no lining, but then around where the hat attaches to your head, there is some lining in here. The chin strap is adjustable. You can change the length of this, but you can also, there is a toggle on here as well. I wear mine at the back of my head so it fits on there to stop it from blowing off in the wind. Really, really like this. There's some nice features on here in the fact that this is also a slanted hat as well. So the difference where the brim is here to the back, and then where you see where the difference is from the brim to the front here is actually shorter. So again, kind of from that military side, because these are designed to be used by the Finnish military, you'll tend to want to have a little bit more cover at the back, which is also one of the reasons why I prefer sun hats like these, because you do get 360 degrees of cover from the sun, but it enables you to lift this up a little bit more to the front, whereas at the back it's closer down to the back of your neck to give you as much cover as possible. This one, out of all of them, I'd say is also the most rigid as well. If you want to, you can screw this up, you can put it in your bag. I have took this whilst away with me, and I've been able to do that with this. But with this one, it's just a little bit more rigid. It feels like a traditional tailored cap. But yes, this is very, very nice. Now, all of these hats, I believe all of them, or I'll make sure I mention the ones that don't, are you have different sizes of these. I have a 59 to 60 centimeter head. This is is it the extra large? I will check for you, let's check. Does it say? This is their large. So this one fits me just right. I have a large noggin and this one fits me great. And this is the Verusteleka Sama TST Boonie hat. Now next up on the list is the Sniper Boonie hat from Carcajou. I have already made some content on this on my sister channel. Carcajou sent this to me, it's probably about 6 months ago, but you can buy these singularly as you have it here, or you can buy it in combination with a sniper veil, which was what you know, the content that I made on Moorlander Tactical. And what that does is it fixes to this, so if you're using it for photography, or if you're in a certain position with a pew-pew and you want to keep part of that disguised and covered, then you have the veil that is part of this to keep that covered as well. Very nice solution. In fact, I'll leave a link whichever side the link goes so that you can watch that content. Now I haven't put these in any sort of order, but I will say the first one that we looked at just from Verusteleka and this one from Carcajou, I have worn the most this year. That's not to say that the other ones we're going to look at aren't as good. I don't even know why, but I just tend to either wear this one or the Verusteleka one. Now this one is very military looking, and this is, as you know, it's the Sniper Boonie. There are more kind of non-military tactical looking versions. So this is a short brimmed one. The edge of the brim has been feathered so that it will blend in with natural environment. Also the brim here, so on the inside you'll see the material that it's made from here. Now there is a lot of different materials that this is made from, so I'll leave a list here at the bottom, but you have the material here, but then you also have some meshing across the top. On the top here as well, there is some finer meshing, there is then some kind of netting, and then on the inside there is some further even finer meshing to make sure that you do get some protection from the sun. Again, so there's a couple of different versions from this. If you want to have one with less meshing on there, then you can do, so that it just looks a little bit less uber tactical. And also, if you don't want to have this feathering around the brim as well, there are also versions that you can have without the feathering, and it will have a traditional sewn brim on there as well. On the inside, so the way this is done is they've put additional kind of ribbing in there. So if you did want to make this, now this is what I would consider to be a short brim boonie, which is actually the style that I prefer. But if you wanted to make it even shorter, because of the additional ribbing that you've got on here, you can cut within the ribbing lines and then feather it yourself to make it just that extra little bit thinner. Now from the Sniper side, this is where you've got this netting, so you can take natural foliage. Hadn't kind of thought this through beforehand, but you can pass this through here, and they also have, I believe they're called garlands or garnishings that you can add to this as well. This again, I believe this comes in a few different sizes. It does, yes, because you actually have the measurements in here. So depending on whether you have a smaller or a larger head, you can get the perfect one from them. I did find, because there are 3 different versions, deniers of the netting on here, I was concerned about my head getting wet in the sun, but actually I didn't have any issues whatsoever. On the back there is a pull on here, so if you do want to get it a little bit tighter, you can do. In fact, I can release this and it will sit a little bit easier on my head. And then there is also a chin strap, which again I wear on the back just to make sure that it stays on in the wind. And yeah, there you go. So this is the Sniper Boonie from Carcajou. I was just about to go on to the next one. I also need to mention an important point about these last 2. This is the Verusteleka one, which is a Finnish company, and these are made in Europe, whether it's between Finland or Estonia. The Sniper Boonie, this is a Canadian company, and these are made in Canada, which is always nice. Now next on the list we have the Helican Tex Boonie, which is, I suppose, a very traditional style boonie. I'll just take this off. Materials wise, this is made from a ripstop polycotton, as with all of the others that we've seen today, available in several different colours. This is a wider brim boonie, so if I hold this up like this, you can see that there is a wider brim on there. So as far as sun protection is concerned, this one, possibly the next one, and maybe the one after that, you will get the most protection. Whilst I was away on summer holidays, I wore this one an extra little bit more on the days when I knew it was that the sun was out so much, and that kind of, I was going to say freedom's the wrong word, but just knowing that you've got that extra protection is great. The brim on this, hopefully you'll have noticed that there is this additional kind of bit here at the back. So when this is on your head, it does come down at the back to give you even more protection. Mrs. Moorlander went, "You're not wearing that whilst we're going out." To which I went, "No problem, fam. I got you." So that extra little bit you can remove. There are 3 press studs, one right at the back and 2 kind of at 5 o'clock and 7 o'clock. So you can take that off if you don't want to use it. It's fine for that. On the inside of here, now the main reason that I'm going to show you this is because, so there is also another hat called the Halligan Tex CPU hat, which we'll have a quick look in a second, that I have made some content previously on. This one is fairly simple. There's no lining, there's nothing really like that in here. Then on the outside you have your webbing again, just to attach things if you want. Rather than having slots on the outside to allow air to come in and out, it uses these very traditional metal style grommets, which again instead allow air to come in and out. It's also nice and flat. The one thing I do like about this one is it's actually reasonably floppy. So if you have a small bag with you when you're out and about, you can keep this in your bag and you can just take it out. These are available in a few different sizes. The version here is the extra large, which is a 7 3/4. Again, I have a 59 to 60 centimeter head, and this one fits me just right. It doesn't have additional bungee on it though, so if you're kind of in between sizes, it might be a little bit too big, a little bit too small, so I definitely recommend with this one that you check the sizes just to make sure that you get one just right for you. The chin strap on this is reasonably long, and rather than having something that you can pull that will keep it there, one of those pinch ones, this just uses a little piece of leather. So you kind of pull it up, but after a while, you will notice that it comes a little bit loose. But I guess if you wanted to, you could take this off and put one of those little pinch ones on here, and that would work just exactly the same. Now I did want to show you this other hat. Where did I put it? Oh, I put it in my pocket so I'd remember where it was. Have made some content previously on this. This is the CPU hat. So very similar, but with this one, so this is a smaller, a shorter brim boonie. The difference with this one is that you get this kind of, you get this felt on the front, and there's some nice lining on this, and you also get that pinch strap. Personally, I do prefer this one because it's kind of a newer and it's a shorter brim boonie. But if you're after something that is definitely more traditional, I think the Halligan Tex Boonie hat is probably the one for you. Now next up is the Pentagon Jungle hat, which is very similar to the Halligan Tex Boonie hat. This one has a couple of different features. First one, which I'll quickly go to, is the chin strap. So this has one of those pinch ones so that when you pinch it and move it to a position, it will keep it there. And the other one is this strange thing on the back. Mrs. Moorlander was like, "No, fam, you need to take that off." And I did. I didn't wear it with this. But now I've kind of realized what this is for, it totally makes sense. So hopefully you'll be able to see on the top here that you have some hook and loop. If you are in an area like a jungle, this is the jungle hat, where you'll have a lot of mosquitoes, you want to put a mosquito net over the top of here, you'll be able to fix that to the top. And when you're not using it, on the back here, you'll be able to put your mosquito net in this little pocket, so you don't lose this little pocket. It attaches here to the back on the hook and loop. If you're not in an area where there are a lot of mosquitoes, like I was, and Mrs. Moorlander was like, "Nah, fam, get rid of that," you can take this off, put it down, and then you can just use your jungle hat as it is. This is again another poly cotton mix. It's also a ripstop as well and available in several different colours. Similar to the Halligan Tex Boonie and the ones that we've looked at, this is also a flat top cap. It's also angled as well. So here on the front it's a little bit closer between the brim and the top of the hat, and here on the back it's a little bit longer between the brim and the top of the hat. Whereas the Halligan Tex one is pretty the same. It's uniform, so the distance from here to here and the distance from here to here is exactly the same on that one. So this one does slant forward that extra little bit. If you want to go uber military and do that little roll thing that some people do at the front, of the ones that we've seen today, this is the floppiest. There's less rigidity in this. Even on the inside, you don't have like a sweatband or anything like that. There's no sort of additional support through there to kind of keep it structured. You do have, so on the top it's a single piece of material, whereas on the side it's a double layer. But again, if you want to fold this up, fold it in half again, and be able to put this into a bag, you can do that as you can do with a lot of the other ones. But this one, because there's less kind of rigidity in there, it's a lot easier to be able to do this. It's also a fairly traditional boonie, actually with one step back on that, and that is that there is no band adjustment on this. This is available again in 2 or 3 different sizes, so make sure you check the sizes for your head. But not having some adjustment in this, so this, I think this one's classed as a 60 centimeter, so this is on the larger side of where I am, between a 59 to 60 inch head, a 60 centimeter, not inch, that'd be weird. So when I've got this on, I do notice that it is a little bit light, or a little bit kind of, you know, it moves around a little bit more. I'm here in the UK at the moment, the temperature has dropped, my head has probably contracted a little bit, whereas when I was away, when I was hot, then I filled this and it was just about right. Because it does have one of these pulls on the back though, once I've got it on and I pull that tight behind my neck, it's perfect. It doesn't wobble or kind of want to blow off at all. The brim on this, again mentioning the Halligan Tex has a little bit more structure, whereas with this Pentagon jungle hat it has a little less structure. The brim on this is, again, it's just super floppy. So what you'll find is if you have it in a bag and you take it out, it goes all a little bit weird. However, if you just kind of take it off, give it a bit of a pull. I know I did it very, very quickly then, but doing that, it makes it just fine and it's great to wear. So this is the Pentagon jungle hat. Now the last few are a little less kind of boonie, well I suppose still boonie-esque, but a little less military looking. And this is one that I'd seen loads, and I guarantee if you're on Facebook, if you're on Instagram a lot, you'll have seen this company on there. So this is a US company called SA, and they make lots of different kind of outdoors hats. These are probably a little bit more styled to a barbecue for the weekend kind of hat, or out fishing on the lake with the buddies style hat. And when you look at their marketing, you'll see that it's a lot of those scenes that you tend to find people wearing these. And I was just super curious. I was like, are these one of those, they're just flogging some crap kind of, or are they actually reasonably nice hats? So I thought, right, I'll pick one up and see what they're like. These are 100% polyester, which did worry me at first. I knew I was going to take this away with me to test this to see what it's like in warm conditions. They say it has a cooling effect. It was reasonably cool, I will say. I don't know how or why it does that, whether it wicks a lot of that moisture away, which then allows your head to cool. They're not as bad as I was expecting that they were going to be. Now on the top, the material that this is super light. It's incredibly thin, which I think that's where a lot of that cooling comes from. On the inside you have a liner on the inside of the brim, which again is very nice because it moves some of that sweat away from your face. whilst we were away, it got up to about 35, 34 degrees, and I did have this on during the hotter days. And it was actually quite nice. Again, I know I've said this before, I was expecting this to just be one of those snake oil kind of companies that just sells cheap hats, and it turned out that it was a reasonably nice hat. Now, because it's that kind of bros with the beers around the pool and out with your buddies, having a fish, a lot of the hats are more kind of multicolored rather than your traditional greens and browns. So there are lots of different colors with these. On the inside, it's this kind of desert digital camo. If you're from the US, they do a lot of Star Spangled Banners, they do a lot of kind of eagles and that kind of cool stuff. I thought, as I'm not from the US, I'd pick one up like this, but I guess you could do still if you wanted to. The fit on this, I believe this is, no, there's a couple of different sizes with this. I thought it was one size fits all, but it's not. I ended up getting the larger one, which I checked for the sizes, and it would have been a little bit too big for my head. But when I've got it, it actually fits really nice. Now, structure-wise, the structure on the top, this is super floppy. It's just all over the place. But I think, again, that's where that cooling side comes from, because it does allow quite a bit of air to circulate inside the actual hat itself. And then any moisture, it does wick away quite well. And I think that's part of the brim on the inside, which does help. Then as far as the actual brim itself, this is very kind of, well, I say it's not super rigid, but it is quite taut. Is taut the right word? Maybe it is. Let's just use taut for now. So when you've got this, you can angle it and you can kind of roll it a little bit and it will stay in place. Or if you want to do it on the sides, you can kind of do the same on here. I found when you get this wet, because all of these were tested in and out of the pool, jumping in, and they're great for that. But once you get it wet and you kind of put it into a position, when it dries into those positions a little bit better, and it tends to stay with there. But certainly if you're after something with more coverage so that there's less chance of the sun getting onto your face, and importantly with this on the back of your neck, these Boonie hats from SA are actually a lot better than I was expecting. Now, last but definitely not least, from one of my favorite hat companies, I have a lot of their neck gaiters. This is the Adventure Bucket hat from Buff. I have so many Buff hats, especially those neck gaiters, and I also have a couple of their beanies as well. I like the company, I like their ethos, and I like the hats that they wear. They're always very kind of multifunctional. So the Adventure Bucket hat, now the first thing that I was certainly concerned, I liked the colour of this. Black hats tend to attract a lot of heat. This is made from polyester with also some elastin in here as well. And I also thought that this was going to be very hot. But on paper, it should be hotter than it is. But similar to the SA hat, whatever witchcraft or magic that they've done to this allows the material to take a lot of that moisture and move it away from your head to keep your head nice and cool. And it did a very good job of this whilst we were away. As far as the structure of this is concerned, it's a fairly traditional bucket hat. If I hold this here, you can see. So what you'll tend to find with a bucket hat is that the brim slopes down at an angle, whereas with a boonie, it tends to kind of point out. It's a nice short brimmed hat. As far as the distance between the brim and the top of the hat is fairly uniform all the way around. You do have some kind of sewn grommet holes here on the side to allow some of that moisture and that heat to move away. And then on the back here, you have a little bit of a pull bungee. Now, I forgot to mention, sorry, on the SA hat, which you might have noticed as I was kind of moving it around, they do have something similar on the back here. This is uber floppy. This is such a floppy bucket hat. If you want to put this into your pocket, it will fold up into the smallest, almost kind of just smaller than a tennis ball size. And in fact, if I turn this inside out, as I do this, you can see it also has an elasticated band on the inside as well, which also does a very good job of being able to move some of that moisture away from your skin onto the other material, which then allows it to wick away. But on the inside here, hopefully you'll be able to see there's this little pocket. The pocket is designed, and I just mentioned that you can screw it up to the size of less than a tennis ball. But the little pocket on the top here, I'll just flop that back out, is designed so that if you want to, you can kind of self-fold this into it, like you get with some of those small kind of stowable, packable jackets that you can get. You can do exactly the same with this, which I think is why they've added that kind of adventure bucket hat moniker to this. You can throw this into a satchel, you can throw this into a bag, you can even put it on the side pocket if you're wearing some cargo pants, and you can just take this anywhere. As soon as you need it, you fold it out. It is a bit, you have to just give it a bit of a shake, but once you've given it a bit of a shake, it takes its original form, and then you can put it back on, and then you're good for the day. I bought this whilst we were out, and I realized that I hadn't bought, well, let's put that back in the middle. I realized that I hadn't bought a hat with me, and I was like, damn, I need to get a hat. Went to a local adventure outdoorsy shop, picked this up, and I was really glad that I did. For that day, it gave me all the protection that I needed, and it was very surprising just how cool that this kept my head. Now, like with a lot of buff items, you'll probably find that this is available in several different colors, and they're also reasonably priced as well. And yes, this is the buff adventure hat. No, it's not, it's a buff adventure bucket hat. Now, as I say, I don't necessarily have a favorite. I definitely don't have a favorite, but what I will say is, through this summer, the Veristaleka Boonie and the Carcajou Sniper Boonie are probably the two that I've worn the most. The Carcajou one, it's very tactical looking, but don't let that put you off. Check out the Carcajou website and you'll be able to see that there are less tactical looking. You can, as I mentioned, change the brim, and you can change some of the other features on there, so it does look a little bit more kind of civilian, and it's not going to look as uber tactical. But as I mentioned, I don't have a favorite, but these two definitely are the ones that I tend to wear the most. So there you go. I hope you've enjoyed today's content. Of course, I will leave some links below so that you can see where I picked all of these boonies up from. Some of those may be affiliate links. If you choose to use those, it just gives a small kickback to my channel so that I can continue to make content like this. I will also leave some of my social media links below so that you can see more from me here on Moorlander EDC and my sister channel Moorlander Tactical, which is also where you'll be able to see the content on the Carcajou Sniper Boonie and the veil that goes with that as well. And whether you're watching this on YouTube or Rumble, as always, stay safe, stay Moorlander, and stay EDC. It's warm today. It's also very close, which, yeah. Anyway, where were we? Now, of all of the 6 that we'll have a look at today, oh, excuse me. Damn it, I have to start again. Stop hiccuping. That's weird. We still audio? We're still audio. Good. 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 Now then, young lad. Now then. If you've made it to the bloopers, there was something that I forgot to mention while I was in there. So this is the jungle hat from Pentagon. Another very good alternative is the Babylon hat from Pentagon. I made some content on this before in the past. With the jungle hat, it's very simple and it's very floppy. With the Babylon, you get some extra nice features, like the fact that there is a pull cord on the back so you can make it a little bit tighter. It is a shorter brim boonie. This is another one that I guarantee, if you've been watching the channel for a long time, you will definitely have seen this. So if you're after a less traditional one, because this is probably more of a traditional jungle hat, and you're after something that's more of a short brim boonie, then the Babylon is a very, very good alternative to that. Plus on the inside, you have this high vis mesh on there, so if you are out walking and you get lost, you need to be able to signal people. It's a very good alternative. I thought I'd mention that because it is a beautiful hat. In fact, shall we wear this for the rest of the day, children? Shall we? Shall we? Okay, let's. That's it for now. I promise. Have a nice day.